How can it be that whenever you walk inside a grocery store, there are just as many, if not more, bad or unhealthy choices as there are good choices? Even though the produce section is at the front of the store, where do you end? You ever see a movie that started off really good and then ended really bad and left you with a bad taste in your mouth? That's kind of how grocery stores are. How can it be that every time you walk into a grocery store, the first thing you see is produce and fresh stuff, the things you probably should be eating most? But the further you go, the deeper you get, the worse it kind of gets. If food actually is our medicine, how can it be that this place is so full of so many bad things? And then once you ask yourself that, then you gotta wonder, what are the chances that the grocery store is the only thing that's functioning in this way? I submit to you that the grocery store isn't a function of people being nice to you and trying to sell you the best things possible. The store is just trying to make money and the selling was popular. Yeah, on some level they want to sell you fruits and vegetables and they want to get them to you first because it's at the front of the store, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's their priority. You have to be intentional about choosing these things. When was the last time you saw a billboard for eating apples, bananas, grapes, and oranges? When was the last time you saw a billboard for McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, or Chick-fil-A? How can it be that the very thing that's taking our lives is literally in every store across America? Well, as important as that question is, I think before we figure out why it's this way, I think the first thing we have to do is acknowledge, one, it's not quite right, but two, you have to be conscious in choosing the right things. But even further beyond that, what if I told you that life works a lot like that grocery store? What if I told you that life is sort of set up to where there are good things plentifully available to you right there and you could grab them, but also there are so many things, so many deep dark crevices, so many different paths that you could go down that are dark, that could take you out, that could literally extinguish your life, that could make the quality of your life worse, that could affect the people around you. Yeah, we can understand that eating things that are bad harms us, but still we buy that sugary cereal. Even though we know that bad food will do harm to us, we still pull up to that drive-thru. We still order that carry-out. We still get the DoorDash, and we still suffer. At a certain point, we gotta be better, and we gotta start talking about how to be better and how to be intentional, not just with food, but with our lives. When it comes to social media, there's so much negativity out there, it far outweighs the good. And there's so much good. But how do we change it? At the grocery store, there's so much bad, so much unhealthy, so much processed. How do we change it? Do we even need to change it? I'm here to submit to you that the results we have today, the algorithm that's being produced in life, is a direct result of the demand that's being supplied. So first and foremost, before we get to anything else, it has to be your mental. Your mental must be strong in order for the actions that proceed to be in accordance to what's right. So again, if your mind isn't right, your actions won't be either. What are the chances that a cloudy mind is going to have sharp and focused decision making? What are the chances that a foggy brain is going to produce clear and efficient and effective results? It won't. So it's so important to have a clear mind in order just to be able to execute. And again, I know it sounds easy. I know that social media and advertising and talking to people, and it can be really tricky to curate these things in a way that is beneficial to you and that maximizes what is going in and out of you. The physical is also another part of your diet, another part of that winner's diet, the thing that winners focus on, the thing that the best of us are focusing on because we want to win. It has to be the physical. Literally, the things you put in your body are either medicine or poison. The things you put in your body are either medicine or poison. So ask yourself, as you eat that bowl of cereal, what is each spoonful doing? Yeah, it might not be enough to kill you, it might not be enough to take you out in one fell swoop, but if there's a meter in the middle of your life and it's either ticking good or bad, what is the bowl of cereal doing? If it's only a little bit and every now and again you have a bowl of ice cream, okay, that's one thing. But if it's consistent, it is far outweighing, eventually the scale gets tipped so far to the left or to whatever the bad side is, that negative results start to follow. The products you put into your body, the shampoos, the conditioners, the hand soaps, the hand sanitizers, the deodorants, all of these are as much a part of your diet as the foods you eat. And make no mistake about it, the food you eat is critical. It's so tricky nowadays to just find the best foods and know what's healthy because there's so many different sources of information. But stick to the basics. Fruits are really good for you. Vegetables are really good for you. Certain meats are really good for you. But once you start getting crazy and once you start eating things that you couldn't even tell you what tree or planet ever came from, you probably shouldn't be eating it. I'm not saying never have a burger. I'm not saying never have fries. But do you know where that cereal came from? And I'm saying cereal because cereal has been my thing. What tree does the bread that you're eating grow on? I get that it's a filler, but if there's any way to choose a healthier option, you gotta choose the healthier option. Because the bread ain't it. So much of the food that we eat today is packed full of hormones and chemicals and things that aren't quite right. But so are the ingredients that we also put on our bodies, the lotions that we use, the deodorants that we use. And again, just do a little research into what's going into them and out of them and just finding better ways to improve your health, right? The water you drink. If our bodies are this massive percent made up of water, what are the chances you shouldn't be drinking water, right? What tree does Kool-Aid or juice or fruit punch or whatever? When it comes to water, I love drinking water, but I also used to really enjoy drinking sugary drinks. And if I just allow myself to, I could drink lemonades and juices and OJ, and it's delicious to me. But again, where in nature does it occur? I think one of the simplest ways to sort of figure out what's good and what works is how much would you actually see it in nature? I think nature is always like a good barometer for what works and what doesn't. I know where a banana comes from. I know where an apple comes from. I know where a pear comes from. I know where lettuce comes from. I know where spinach comes from. I don't know where a Pop-Tart comes from. And I like Pop-Tarts. I don't know where pastry comes from. I don't know what tree cake grows on. I don't know where this really processed juice comes from. And if you don't believe me, just look at the ingredients in it. If you've never heard of these chemicals, what are the chances you should be putting in your body, and especially at a high level? Now, if you really think like me and you come from a place where maybe you didn't have that much money, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But what I'm telling you now is as soon as you can do better, start to do better. Because every time you eat something, every time you put something on your body, every time you watch, every time you consume, it's all a choice and it's all a part of your diet. It's a conscious thing. Whether you know it or not, now I'm telling you so you do. It's conscious, and we want to be really, really intentional, really purpose-driven about the things that we put on and in us, but also the things that we allow in us, the things that aren't physical, like the music we listen to, the TV shows we watch, the things we allow ourselves to see visually. When it comes to what's natural and what's not, your cell phone isn't natural. So the things you will see on it, the amount of access you have to information is a beautiful thing. But also, there's so much overwhelming stuff that it can be confusing, and it makes you think that this is real and this is life and watching this is normal. In real life, without a cell phone, you wouldn't have even seen half of the stuff you've seen. And when you think about the majority of human history, they didn't. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that technology is bad. I like the internet and spreading ideas and being able to share and come together in group and community. But we got to be aware that everything that is embodied and that is a part of this technology so that we don't become slaves to it. Yeah, I love my cell phone, but just look at your screen time. If your screen time is through the roof, and I'm going to do a video on this too because screen time is crazy. But again, if your screen time is through the roof and it's not on things that are productive or for something like critical, man, you could do some reevaluating because that's a part of your diet. And if it's not adding to you, it's probably taken from you. And even if you say it's not taken from you, maybe it's just stealing your time. If you have goals that you say you want to get done, but you spend all day scrolling, do you really have a right to be upset at the fact that you didn't get the goals accomplished? Do you really have a right to be upset that you aren't where you want to be? If you haven't chosen to be disciplined and buy the right things, if you haven't chosen to be intentional and bypass the sugary products and bypass the bad stuff and instead choose things that are natural, that are of the earth, that you know for a fact are healthy. Now, I know if you're anything like me as a kid, you probably were told some things about the American diet that may not be so true now. But so what? Now you have the truth. Now there's information on the internet. Now you can test and see. And let's be real. We know for the most part, if it's a food, if it's a whole food, that's good. Ultimately, what I'm saying is that every single thing that you consume is a part of your diet. The art you consume, the music you consume, the TV you watch, the social media pages you follow, all of it is a part of your diet. And all of it is playing some sort of role in your health. And so the thing is, food does affect our physical health and our mental health in real ways. But the things that you allow into your mind's diet, they're as important, if not more important, than the very food you eat. Because again, a sharp mind produces sharp results. An unfocused and diluted mind is really easy to topple. So how much hate are you allowing into your ears? How much love are you allowing into your eyes? How much positivity and good things and goodness are you allowing yourself to consume versus the bad? There's so much negativity and so many salacious things and so much just things that are meant to grab attention. But the things that are meant to grab attention aren't necessarily things that are meant to make you better. The things that are meant to grab attention are not necessarily things that are meant to make you better. In fact, it's not even intentional at all. They're just putting stuff out there. When people post online, when people post on social media, there's a thing called engagement. And whatever works is what they're throwing out there. But what if the things that they throw out there are harmful to you and your mind? What if by harming your mind, you make it so that your body can't perform? What if by harming your mind, you also harm your kids, your families, your friend, by not being yourself, by not setting the example, and by not living the life that you could and should? Your relationships are a part of your diet. The people who you interact with on a regular and how you choose to interact with them or not is certainly a part of your diet. So who are you interacting with and how? Is it negative? Is it positive? Are you the problem? Are they the problem? If so, can it be worked through? How are you doing it? How intentional are you being about these relationships? Because again, they're playing a role in your mind. They're playing a role in how you sleep. They're playing a role in how you think and dream and live. So you got to be intentional about the way these things play out. What I'm here to submit to you today is that everything is a part of your diet. But how much will you choose to accept and be intentional about receiving that message? Because again, most won't. Most can't. Most can't even grasp the fact that the food I eat is so important. How can they move to the things in life? Things that you consume, the things that go into your mind are more important than the food because thought precedes action. And so if your mind is clean, you can make the good decisions to eat the right food and so on and so forth. But when your mind is foggy and unclear, you make bad decisions, you eat bad food, bad relationships, bad work situation, low standards, and it's just a snowball effect. There's also, when it comes to health being wealth, there's also a plethora of options, but also an illusion of good options. There's so much you could consume. There's so much you could listen to. There's so much you could allow into your mind and your ears and your heart and your eyes. But how much of it is worth consuming? Going back to that grocery store example, how much of what's in the store is worth actually consuming versus how much of it will actually do harm to you? It's not just the store that works that way. It's not just the grocery store that works that way. It's everything. It's life. But who's thinking this way and who's telling it to you? Hopefully I gave you something today. Hopefully what I said made a little bit of sense. And if that's not enough of a reason to convince you, think about who it impacts. Think about the way you could benefit your family positively or negatively if you are the light that you were meant to be. If you actually allowed the light that's inside of you to actually shine like it could, how much impact could you make? If you actually allow yourself to grow as high and as tall as you really could, what sort of limits, what sort of barriers could you break? What sort of people could you inspire? How many people could you inspire? How many lives could you change and affect if you were just your best you? And the best part about it is, these decisions are happening anyways, and you gotta make a decision one way or the other. All I'm saying is just be conscious, be aware, and make the right decision. The time is gonna pass either way. Now, it wouldn't be me if I didn't tell you actually how to do it, so let me tell you. When it comes to making these changes, it might sound like I talked about a lot of stuff, and I did. I talked about the music you listen to. I talked about the people you talk to. I talked about the things you see, the things that you dream with. I talked about a lot of stuff when it comes to health as well and what exactly consists of your diet. What I'm saying to you is progress over perfection. Eventually, I'll do a video talking about why progress is far more important than perfection, and perfectionism is really just procrastination disguised as something else, or maybe even something else, but it's certainly not a good thing. Progress over perfection. And again, think about it. Would you rather make consistent, gradual progress? What sounds better? Overdoing it because you tried to do too much at once? Underdoing it because you didn't do enough? Or just finding that the trick to this whole thing, like I always talk about, is balance. You can't change everything at once, and you can't change everything in one day, or at least you probably won't. Maybe you're that outlier of a person who is different, but 9 times out of 10, if you're like the most of us, gradual change, gradual progress is important. Progress over perfection, right? And so when it comes down to it, I would much rather you make gradual progress than commit to doing this massive thing but never do anything because it's too big and you're thinking perfection. Or to shoot really, really low and not do anything because you're not. I want you to make progress. I want you to be consistent. And if you do those things, the momentum will build. You'll go in an up direction instead of just a stagnant direction. So if you've been feeling stagnant, make progress. You don't got to be perfect. Just make a little bit, right? Again, I'm going to go deeper into that in a later video, but you must make progress. You don't need to be perfect. When it comes down to success, you always want to have a mindset of action and results. If the things you're eating is leading to poor results, what actions are you taking to remedy it? Did you come up with a plan for what you'll eat and how? Did you come up with a plan for how you'll budget? Did you come up with a plan for how you'll make sure you'll avoid the fast food line or the drive-thru on your way home? Or are you going to continue to freestyle? Are you going to be intentional and write goals and plan? If you don't know about goal setting and planning, go back to the first video. But even if you don't know about that, you can still start today by just making a little bit of progress. Again, we got less than 30 days left in 2024, but it doesn't even matter what year we're in. Whatever amount of time you have, 30 days from today will eventually come. If you're alive to see it, you could have made some progress. I don't even want to go so far as to say you should have. Should is not even a real thing. But you could. I hope you do. I want you to. But you got to make the decision. It has to be a you thing. Nobody else can do it. And again, what are you allowing to be a part of your diet? It's going to be really hard to take the action and plan and do what you should if so much of what you consume is a negative and a downer and not good for you. But if the things you consume are good and building and lead to better, come on, you're going to build up. And feel free to examine everything. So again, if something is right, there should never be an issue with holding up that microphone or putting up that magnifying glass or turning on that camera to see, is this thing what I say it is? If the things that you are committed to are no longer serving you, it's okay to make a change. The real problem comes when you know that you could make a change, you could do better, and you don't. I said in a previous video, the definition of insanity isn't doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. It's doing the same thing over and over, even when you've been given new information. When you've been given that knowledge, you've been given the information, and you're still impervious to it, when you still won't listen or make a change, that's when it becomes insanity. Health is wealth. Health is everything, and health is so much more than just what you eat. It's everything that you consume. All of it is a part of your diet. And if you can change your mindset if you haven't, or just continue to embrace it if you have, life will be so much better. And not only that, but you can be a light that spreads on to others. And I love being a light that spreads on to others. Last but certainly not least, in fact, I probably should have said this first, you got to have some goals that you have to change these things. Maybe one of your goals is spend 15 minutes a day curating my social media. Or maybe one of your goals is don't buy that box of cookies, or don't buy that. Small steps will go a really long way, because again, if you keep making small steps and you keep building, eventually you'll get to a tower. Eventually you'll build a skyscraper, and eventually you'll reach the heights that you were meant to. Eventually you'll soar to the heights that you were meant to be at. Eventually you'll create the legacy that you were born to leave behind. Eventually you'll reach the heights that you were born to climb to. Eventually you'll accomplish the things that were meant for you to accomplish. But the thing is, destiny belongs to those who grab it. The future belongs to those who take advantage of now. So if you don't use the present as a gift to take advantage and to understand and to recognize the fact that your health is wealth, that without the health, the money, the fame, none of it matters, but also that by focusing on and realizing that your health and your diet is literally everything you consume, that right there is the cheat code to life. And just a side note, I'm going to do another video on programming and social media and marketing, because there are companies whose job it is to make sure that you buy that unhealthy sugary snack, to make sure you buy the ice cream, to make sure you go to the fast food place. There are literally people, literally forces trying to get you to do it, which is all the more reason why it's important for you to be the light that doesn't fall for it. Because in a world where there's so much darkness, who's going to be the light? In a world where there's so many negative influences, who's going to be the positive, not only speaker of words, but doer of deeds? Yeah, I don't want to be one who just talks about it. I want to be one who does it. My birthday is coming up real soon, and I'm so excited about it. I got a big trip coming up. My birthday gift to myself is to spend the next 2 months focusing on cleaning up my diet and reaping the benefits of the results I have. My birthday present to myself will be the best body and mind I could possibly ask for. And I'll get it by planning and being intentional, but being very, very purpose-driven when it comes to my diet and what I consume and what I allow into my mind, my ears, my heart, and everything else. And again, the way to start is so simple. You've been hearing this since you were a kid. good food, water, exercise are the basics. All of those are things that even if you can't go all out, you could just do a little bit of walking. I'm gonna talk a little bit more in a future video about being active and exercise and why it's so important. But even if you can't run, just do a little bit of walking. If you can't walk, just move an arm or a leg or wiggle a toe. And once you wiggle a little toe, maybe you get a little bit of calf involved. Maybe you get some thigh. Maybe you can't sprint at full speed. Maybe you can't bench press 300 pounds. You can do something. If all you can do is raise your arm up, if you do it multiple times, you'll get stronger. If all you can do is walk, if you walk 1, 2, 3 minutes more every day, you for sure will get better. By the way, side note, walking is one of the best physical activities you could ever do. It's low impact, it's super effective, and we were built to do it. So walk, be active, drink the water, but also, more than anything else, please be aware that your diet consists of so much more than what you eat. The grocery store of life consists of so many negative things, but you gotta choose the veggies and the fruits and the good stuff. That way you get the good results. Because the people who are choosing the good stuff, and it's right there for them, they're winning. The people who are choosing what's right, they're still finding success. So why not you? Why not today? Why not, if things aren't going the way you want them to, be intentional about making a change and then do it. And the best part is, the time is gonna pass regardless. All you gotta do is fill the time you currently have with something better. The decisions you currently make with better decisions. The music you listen to with better music. The amount of positivity you get, turn the volume all the way up on it, and life will start to pay you dividends. This is the Infinite Evolution. Your health is wealth. I hope you attain the best. I hope you become your best. And so if nothing else, I hope you understand that your health is wealth. Your diet is literally everything you consume, everything you allow in, everything you see, everything you hear, but also you have so much control of it. I hope I gave you some value today. Peace.